Chapter 8. Emmanuel hurried over to help Mackenzie up, but his hand stopped in the air abruptly when he sensed an intimidating aura around her. He hesitated, wondering if he should touch her. Looking at the motionless woman with beads of sweat trickling down her forehead, he eventually mustered his courage and picked her up. To his surprise, she felt much lighter than he expected for a 5.5-foot-tall person. In fact, he reckoned she weighed only around 110 pounds. "Don't touch me." Mackenzie still managed to shoot him a steely glare despite the gripping pain she felt. It was nothing compared to how much she detested the touch of a man, let alone being carried by one. Goosebumps broke out across her body the moment Emmanuel touched her. The man evaded her hostile eyes and gently put her down on the couch, saying, "Just look at you. You don't eat regularly. That's why you're having stomach flu now." "Wait. How does he even know that? We've only known each other for a day." Mackenzie was taken aback by how much Emmanuel knew about her, but before she could respond, Emmanuel had lifted her nightgown. What do you think you're doing? I'll kill you." Mackenzie exploded in a burst of energy, twisting Emmanuel's arm. There was no way she would let a man like him take advantage of her, especially when she was a daughter of the Quillen family and had been practicing martial arts her whole life. Despite how painful the grip was, Emmanuel did not fight back. "I'm just trying to help ease your pain," he explained, gritting his teeth. "Looks can be deceiving, man. She's not ladylike at all, despite how gorgeous she is. Aren't you a gynecologist? Do you know internal medicine too?" Mackenzie had doubts, but there was no time for that. Another sharp spasm of pain struck, forcing her to let go of Emmanuel and hold her stomach. "I can well call 911 if you don't trust me, but you'll have to endure the pain until you reach the hospital." Hearing this, Mackenzie took her phone to make a call, for there was no way she would swallow her ego and let Emmanuel have his way. But when the latter saw her curl into a ball because of the pain, he swept her phone aside and squatted down in front of her. Then, Mackenzie felt a big, warm palm lifting her gown right after, but she did not stop him. Besides, she figured she should trust Emmanuel once, since she could break him into pieces later if she found out he was purely taking advantage of her. Meanwhile, Emmanuel felt his heart start pounding vigorously when he saw Mackenzie's pair of fair and flawless legs. In fact, he gulped without even knowing when he lifted her skirt. As a gynecologist, he had never felt a sense of irresistible attraction toward any woman except for Mackenzie, but he quickly collected his thoughts and rubbed his hands before warming her stomach with the heat from his palms. Ugh, Mackenzie finally felt more comfortable when a rush of warmth went through her stomach, dispelling the pain from earlier. Then, Emmanuel repeated the gesture a few times and massaged her lower abdomen. Oh, her abs are tight and toned. She must be disciplined enough to work out regularly. What is this you're doing?" Mackenzie asked, biting her lower lip. She had always abhorred men's touch, but this time, it felt different when Emmanuel touched her. Although the sense of distaste was still there, Mackenzie felt good and embarrassed simultaneously. The feeling perplexed her. "I'm applying pressure on your acupoints," Emmanuel answered, looking down to avoid eye contact. As his gaze lowered, he could not help but steal a glance at Mackenzie's legs. She's truly a work of art. Little did he know, Mackenzie was watching his every move. "I knew it. This man is finally showing his true colors. They all put up a front as if they are true gentlemen before they marry you, but the truth is that all men are the same. They're all perverts." "How are you feeling?" Emmanuel asked suddenly. "I'm fine already." "You should stop touching me now," Mackenzie instructed coldly. Emmanuel did as she told, but on second thought, he reminded, "What's with this aversion? I'm your husband. Besides, I'm just trying to help you." Mackenzie bit her lower lip and scoffed. "Seriously? I don't understand why human reproduction must happen between a man and a woman. I bet other women feel uncomfortable about it too. Let me make you something to eat. Also, Make sure you don't work overtime with an empty stomach next time, Emmanuel remarked, standing up to leave. Are you doing this as a doctor or as a husband? She asked indifferently. Is that even important? Pfft. Does she have to be so serious? Mackenzie ignored that question and informed instead, I'm turning in at 11, so make sure not to disturb me after that. Emmanuel rolled his eyes and smiled in resignation. I swear, getting along with a company executive is harder than working at the hospital. 10 minutes later, Emmanuel headed to her room and knocked on the door with a plate of spaghetti with egg. The sight baffled Mackenzie when she opened the door. Did you buy the ingredients? Wait. Do you also know how to cook? Of course I bought groceries. Your kitchen is literally empty. Do you think the food just dropped from heaven? With that, Emmanuel entered the room with the food and placed the plate on the table. Eat it while it's still warm. You're not supposed to be eating anything cold. Are you seriously telling me what to do? Mackenzie asked, slightly amused. She was still not used to living together with a man. Before this, not even her mother dared to tell her what to do, so it caught her off guard when Emmanuel did that. I'm the CEO of Terrence Group. Who dares to boss me around? This is just a friendly reminder, Emmanuel replied sternly all of a sudden. You're my wife and, more so now, a patient, so you should listen to me. A frown crept on Mackenzie's brows as she stared at the man. In the end, she gave up arguing with him and started eating, but when she saw the cheap food, she could not help but frown again. Is this even edible? You won't die from a tasteless meal, but you'll definitely suffer if you go through the night with an empty stomach. Emmanuel was on the verge of losing his temper. He could not understand why Mackenzie could be so intractable. At last, Mackenzie budged and spun the pasta with her fork. She began to chew slowly before her face abruptly changed. This is pretty good. I hope I don't gain weight from an occasional late-night treat, she commented. For the first time, Mackenzie thought living with a man was not entirely a bad idea, for it sure felt different from having a housekeeper at home. Her behavior rendered Emmanuel speechless. I guess a woman will always be a woman. She might be a misandrist, but she still cares about her body image, just as all other women do. Her beauty is all she lives for. I'm done. Is this fine? Mackenzie asked Emmanuel like a patient seeking approval from their doctor after only taking 2 bites of the food. Emmanuel was exasperated. I can't understand how someone can be this difficult. I made this specifically for her, yet she only takes 2 bites of it. Knowing there was no point in trying to change her mind, Emmanuel held his dissatisfaction and collected the plate and cutlery before leaving. By the way, he suddenly voiced out when he almost reached the door. When will you be free to go home with me? My mom would love to meet you. His heart thudded loudly with anxiety as he waited for an answer.